Hello and welcome to Mommy Dentist and Business Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Grace Yum, and welcome to all of our listeners. And if you are new here, thank you for tuning in, and I welcome you to our hive. I don't know if you know this, but the bee is our mascot. And if you go to any dental meeting and you notice a woman that has bees on anything that she owns, she's most likely a mommy dentist in business. And I also want to say that, hey, if you haven't checked out our website or our group, go to mommydibs.com, mommydibs.com. Or if you're a listener and you're a mom and a dentist and you haven't joined our group, go to our Facebook page or our Instagram page, and we would love to welcome you in. And speaking of MDIBS members, today we have one of our very own, Dr. Tesa Jolly, and she is an official member of MDIB, dentist, mom, practice owner, and she's also the regional leader of our community in the Tennessee, Nashville area. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here with you.
Well, Dr. Tessa, for all of our listeners who don't know you, I would love for them to get to know you. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. I'm from a small town about an hour south of Nashville in Tennessee. And I grew up here always kind of wanting to be a dentist. When I went to dental school, I stayed in state. I went to Memphis for dental school. When I came out, I just didn't know where I wanted to be in my hometown, but I knew I wanted to come back home. So I asked all the different dental offices, where do I fit in on this picture? And they all told me to start my own practice, but that was kind of intimidating. And so I was pregnant at the time, and I really just wanted to have a mentor and to just jump into practice. And a guy who was about to go to art school said, well, I want to go to art school part-time, come work with my practice. So I started working with him. And just about 6 weeks after I had my baby, he died suddenly of a heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
So I have a newborn at home, and if I want to keep a job, I have to figure out how to buy a dental practice. And so he had a really sweet elderly aunt. He didn't have a wife. He didn't have any kids. So the next of kin was an elderly aunt. And we went through that process. And she said, hon, I know he really liked you. So you just tell me whatever you can afford and we'll just make it happen. And so I got the biggest gift ever, like right out of dental school, is being able to go into practice without hardly any debt, which was just not what I expected. So right away, I started to see my patients that were my kindergarten teacher, my preschool teacher, and I wanted to take care of them for free because they had a part of where I am now. And I was doing that. My dad said, that's not a very good business model. So if you want to have people that are going to show up for work and you get to pay them, you have to do something for money. So I said, well, at least one day a year, we'll do it big and we'll do it free. And that first year in 2009 is when we decided to do our first free dental day. And I invited people I graduated high school with or from dental school with, that they all came and helped me. And we saw over 100 patients that first day. And so it's just kind of grown every year. And it's been a really cool community thing.
You know what? I love that. And it actually reminded me when I practiced in Chicago and during my Chicago days, one of my colleagues, Jack, he did that in his office, and I would go there and I would help do free dentistry. And there was a line like down the sidewalk, down like blocks and around the corner for the dental day. And we all took shifts. We all volunteered. Assistants volunteered. And it makes such a big impact for people who would otherwise never go to the dentist. And so I just think that that's just really impactful. And I love your story about how this office was a gift. And even though, you had a 6-month-old and you figured it out. And I wanted to share a message to anyone who's listening. If you're pregnant or you have an infant, less than 12 months, that you can do this. And if you are in a position where you're like in it and you're like, why did I do this to myself? You can do hard things as a testament to what Dr. Tesa has done. And I encourage everybody that are in the thick of things, or maybe you have a lot of young ones at home and find it difficult to work, that don't stress yourself out. We have a community of mommy dentists who have walked the walk, who are talking the talk, and here to help you and embrace you if you feel overwhelmed. So always reach out. Now, I know that we're going to make this episode very interesting for our listeners because we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. And Tessa and I have this passion for AI. And Tessa, I invited Tessa to come and share at the clinical event that we just hosted in March, at the beginning of March, just 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's coming. Can you believe 3 weeks has already gone by, Tessa?
Wow. It was so much fun. It was so well attended.
It was very well attended, not just well attended, but well received.
Mm-hmm.
Tessa, I had received so many messages and feedback from the doctors who attended saying this was the best meeting that they've ever gone to in a while. And it was because of the content. It wasn't a fancy location. And in fact, it wasn't, well, tell me, do all the meetings you go to, they're in the hotel?
At the Mommy Dental meeting or the
in general,
conference?
just
yes. Most of the times they're in the hotel. Yeah.
Right. And it makes it convenient.
Yes.
Right. But this one wasn't. And we were at Bisco, and they have a beautiful facility and a beautiful like room just to learn and focus. But it wasn't easy. We had to take Ubers. You know, we had to book hotels, and then we had to get there, including myself. And it showed all of us, it doesn't matter where the location is. We need people like you, Tessa, you know, to be on stage and share. It's about the sharing, but the energy that you brought and the heart that you brought with it, it wasn't like you were up there and being like, and this is this and this is that. You taught us from a very heart-led and heart-driven approach that we could all see, and that was impactful. So now I'm going to ask you, you say that dentists are built for AI. What does that mean?
Well, one of the things that people don't know what to do with AI is how to use it. They don't know how to think with it. And I think that we forget that that's how we're trained. We're trained thinkers first, and then we're trained doers. And the way that we're trained at thinking is through context, constraints, trying something again and again and seeing a different outcome. And we have a goal in mind. That is how AI works. We think like AI. And so we naturally are just going to be able to use it in a lot better way than most people who are just using it like Google, because we have that way to think. And so I think that if you try to use the large language models, especially, and talk to it like the way you think and externalize your thinking onto it, you're going to be so surprised with how much capacity you're going to free up for yourself when you offload all the things you've been thinking about.
Absolutely. I love that. And, you know, I know that there are so many different vernacular around AI. What do people call it these days? Not just AI, but what other words will we hear around AI?
Well, ChatGPT is kind of one of those that's like a Kleenex, like a brand of a large language model. LLM, that's the thing I'm most excited about with artificial intelligence. Of course, AI has been around for a really long time. When you're playing chess against a computer or solitaire against a computer, that's AI. But what's different now is that we can speak to it. We can chat to it just like you and I are talking. And so now I instantly have resources at my fingertips in my small community that I didn't have 3 years ago. I can call up experts in the field and just talk to them and ask them about what would I do about this in my problem with my dental office, and it would give me expert advice. Of course, I still have to go through it and think through it just like I would talking to any person, but it gives me more information that I would have been able to get them by myself.
Exactly. And, you know, the large language model, everyone who's listening, we want to give a little bit of a base history of it. And my brother-in-law, who is an attorney, but before he became an attorney later in life, but his first career was software engineering. He knows he was creating AI before AI was AI. Like he would send me things developed with his own things with AI. Like he could make music, he could make just all kinds of crazy things.
Wow.
And I just remember him telling me years ago saying, right now, it's what people quote unquote say, garbage in, garbage out. And what everyone needs to know is that AI is trained with all the content and information that's put in. And so it needs a lot of content. So for example, if you're using, if there's a SaaS program, like a software that is reading x-rays. It needs to read a million x-rays before getting it really right. And how many times have you, Tessa, used AI and put something in it and it spits out something that was wrong?
Oh, most of the time. But, at first it was doing that. It would hallucinate. It doesn't give you, it's very confident in the information it gives you, but it's not always accurate. It will come across like it knows everything, and it makes you feel confident with the information you're getting, but it's not always true. And so you'll have to kind of go back and double check to make sure that it's giving you accurate information. But when you first go to it, you have to kind of learn how to talk to it a little bit. And almost every month it changes when
Mm-hmm.
the way the models are updating and changing. And it makes it
Mm-hmm.
easier to talk with too. So I think that's a really cool thing too with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And before I go into like the meaty questions about like how you're using it, again, I want to lay a foundation for our listeners who are kind of dabbling into it and just what to be aware of. What would you say as far as in general large language models? What would you say to be cautious of when allowing students or younger students, let's say middle school and high school?
But that's a great question too. And just like you would supervise them with the internet in any kind of context, or even speaking in any kind of adult, you want to supervise this as well, because you're still kind of understanding it. You don't understand how it's going to speak and talk back to your child, or what your child's going to do with it, what your child's going to ask. And
Yeah.
so it's really important to be supervising when your child is using any of these large language models too. And another thing about the large language models is that unless you have an enterprise edition, like one that's made specifically for large businesses, they really don't make these small business and enterprise models. You don't really need to trust it with any protective health information. You don't
Mhm.
need to give it any of your personal data or bank account information, anything like that, because it's not protected information that when you put it in there.
Absolutely. So now, how are you using ChatGPT in your practice day to day?
I use it with my workflows and digesting a lot of information really quickly. It does a lot of my thinking for me. So if I'm thinking I want to do a um, a visual for how we're tracking our Invisalign cases, and I want to give incentives to my hygienist, and I want to make it easy for my front desk to track. How can I do that? And I will ask that question to ChatGPT, and it'll give me a couple of answers. And then I can look at it. So I've gone to it with the context and my intent and what I'm looking for. And then it's reflecting back some clarity towards me. So I can kind of see, what do I like? What do I want to use? And my other favorite part about it is that it makes a lot of images. And so I'll say, now put that in a dashboard format, put that into a chart format, make that color coded. And so it becomes a tool that we all want to use at the office, because it's a problem solving tool. It's solving a problem that we have, and it's helping us find a solution to that. So we use it in our workflows almost every day like that.
I love that. And where are you using AI? Like you gave some examples, but like how did it change a decision or influence you in any way?
I love it because it gives you a lot of options all at once. And so you feel like you really do get to explore all your options and see a lot of different points of view. And you can test a lot of your ideas and say, what am I missing? Uncover what an expert would tell me about this. And so a lot of decisions I might have made before that were probably not a great decision, because I hadn't thought about a couple of things that it surfaced for me. One of the things that we recently did was coming up with a plan for my dental office. There was a design plan for a grant that we could enter, and the grant had a lot of specific criteria. It had to match the historical information around the community. And so I just plugged in the criteria to ChatGPT, the pictures of my dental office, and gave it a general idea of the vibe I wanted. And I said, generate some images for me. And immediately it gave me pictures of my dental offices in a lot of different settings I would not have even thought about. And then
Mhm.
a project that I probably would not have taken on, because it would have taken too long to find somebody to draw this for me and to
Mhm.
talk to them and to come up with what I even wanted. I could do it
Mhm.
within an hour and actually
Mhm.
get something closed and put off to where I needed to put it.
I love that. It's so amazing. Other than chat, what else have you played with?
Oh, Notebook LM has been one of my favorite things lately, and they're updating it a lot too. It's a Google large language model, and it's more for learning. When you first go into that Notebook LM, you'll see notebooks that you can start, and you'll push the little plus sign and open up a notebook. And then you get to create your own large language model by selecting the information you want to put into it. So, for example, I took about 25 pages of Invisalign notes at the conferences I've been at lately. And so I've uploaded all my Invisalign notes and all the things that I drew and pictures that I took off the slides. And then I asked that you can then chat to it like a large language model. And I can say, based on my Invisalign class and this, what did it tell me? And so I can kind of search my information. But the best part is there's a whole section for media where then it will change that information into a media that might be a little bit more useful, like a mind map or an infographic, or even a 6-minute video to train your staff.
Yes.
It is so cool that the tools that you can easily use by just speaking to it can become training tools that you give to your staff so that you can have something reproducible to give them.
Absolutely. And, I just want to also add, I know that a lot of high school and college students are using Notebook LM. So they'll take their lecture notes, or even like dental students, any student in a classroom can take their notes, load it, and like you said, make their own notebook and study notes. And it just condenses the time and efficiency. Now, I use it sometimes too. I'll put a video in, like if somebody sent me a video, like a YouTube like webinar that's like an hour, I will take that link and I'll put it in there and I'll say, I don't have time to watch this. Give me the cliff notes. And boom, it'll say this, these are what they're talking about. And so it's amazing how efficient one can be with all of these things. And I also wanted to let the audience know there's different versions. You can use Google's version of AI, which is Gemini. And then you can also use Claude AI, which is another LLM or LLA, large language model, LLM, like LLM. And I've noticed differences. And so you can choose which one. And like Tessa said, there are enterprises, meaning you can use a paid version. Claude and Chat have paid versions. I do the paid version of Claude. And this is where it comes in handy, where Tessa was talking about images and charts and graphs. It will make them for you. So if you put in some things and then you say, make me a graph, make me a spreadsheet. And then from Claude, it will also, at the bottom, it'll pop up and ask you questions. It'll ask you, what tone do you want it in? It'll say, do you want it in, a soft tone, a more punchy tone? It will even ask you. So as it's learning you and you're learning it, it will ask you questions. Where it's a time save is emails. You can even, let's say you're emailing a company, or you're emailing a patient, or you're emailing somebody. You can put that through the AI and say, I'm thinking about sending this to so and so. Clean it up for me, or maybe make it tighter, or make it softer. Like, it will add in language and change all that for you so that you feel confident in doing it. Now, I'm not saying it's a tool to replace what you're doing, but it's really to enhance. So I write my monthly newsletters. So I'll write my newsletter and then I'll copy and paste into it and say, tighten this up for me. And it really does such a great job on doing all those things. And lastly, and I'm sure that Tessa does this as well. No. Actually, I actually want Tessa to tell everyone about your pantry.
The pant or the closet.
The closet.
Oh yes. But I'll tell you about the closet in just a moment. That you're talking about the LLMs. One LLM that would be great for our users to look at is Open Evidence. Have you heard of that one?
Not yet.
Okay,
Tell us more.
Open Evidence is one that has trusted information. It just goes with PubMed, and you have to have an NPI in order to access it. And so it's what the doctors are using in the hospitals to come up with their discharge notes. It's what they use to write questions, to come up with visuals. So it's kind of like Chat GPT, where how you interact with it, but the information that it's accessing is the professional information that you want to access. It doesn't have the fluff from like Reddit and
Oh,
oil
that's
pulling and
great.
all that stuff. It is actual, the good information that you want to use.
Perfect. Well, that's
Open
good.
evidence.
Open
Yes.
evidence.
Open evidence.
I'm gonna
That's a
have to
good one.
go. I'm gonna have to go check that out. So,
Yes.
where are our colleagues getting AI wrong? How are they using AI incorrectly?
First, we're not using it a lot. I think that we just need to get in the habit of thinking that it's there and it's there to help us. So downloading it on your phone and just getting in the habit of saying, well, let me think about that. Let me ask ChatGPT. Let me think through that with ChatGPT. Let me brainstorm that with ChatGPT. And once you go through it, then actually using what you've thought out and creating a system from that. Don't just waste that output and let it just go away. Say, now, what did I just think through? Now, how can I make that last? How can I create that as a standard? How can I create that and give it to the person at my house that's babysitting my kids so they understand what I want them to be doing for the week? There's a lot of things like that. And that brings me into the closet or example that we did recently. It it is so cool. You don't really know what it can do until you just try. And sometimes you try and it doesn't work. And then you try the same thing the next week and then it's just amazing. And that's where
Yeah,
my closet example was. So don't give
yeah.
up. And if something doesn't work the first time, don't just say, oh, I can't use this. Just try a couple of different ways. Be curious. We're very clever people, so try to think about workarounds, try prompting it a different way and thinking of it that way. So
Mhm.
what I've had a challenge with my daughter's closet. It's just a mess. It's not organized. It's kind of was put in just haphazardly as a patch in a nursery. And I've been wanting to do a better closet system, but I just haven't had the time to think about the design and measuring and all of those things. And so what I did was I'd put ChatGPT on the voice mode where you can just
Mhm.
talk to it and
Yes,
then
yep,
then it will understand you.
yes.
And I measured around and told it by my voice what the measurements were. And then I uploaded a picture of the area and gave it the context and what I wanted as the output. I wanted to have a closet system that could fit the certain things like the
Mhm.
uniforms, the hair bows, the shoes,
Mhm.
but I wanted it to be something I could make. And so
Yeah.
I said, make this from IKEA's PAX system.
Yep.
And then it pulled all these things together and made several visuals of beautiful closet systems. And so I kind of tweaked it a little bit. I said, I want a mirrored door. You make it like this. And then there's something called agent mode. And so I swapped it over to agent mode. And agent mode is when you give it a goal and it does the goal for you. So my goal was now get all of this that I can see of my closet and put it into the cart in IKEA so I can check out because I didn't want to have to go through and look at all those pieces and try to put it in there for myself.
I
And
love that.
in agent mode, it doesn't do it just perfect all the time. The last year or two, it has gotten so much better. But this
Okay.
time it worked really well. And it went through and it put everything into the cart. You could actually see it into the browser mode and moving the cursor
Yes.
and putting
Yes.
things into your cart. And it's just like, wow. And it will tell you what it's doing, loading, thinking, finding this as
Yes.
it's working. It doesn't happen fast. It's not something that's going to
Right.
save you time
Right.
in that respect of like, oh, get this fast. But I didn't have to do it. And I had 45 minutes I could go play with my kids
That's
while it
right.
worked on it for me.
That's
And
right.
so then I could come back and then just check out, and it's actually being delivered today.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah,
when you put it together, you need to post pictures.
I will. I will.
That's so great. Well, thank you so much, Tessa, for joining us. My last question to you for all of our listeners is what is your number one piece of advice and how you find balance between your professional and personal life?
That's a great question. I think having a lot of intention that you want to have balance is the first thing you have to have as a goal for yourself.
Mm,
After that, setting priorities of where your priorities are. So when decisions come, you'll be able to make them pretty quickly.
yes.
When I have things on my plate that look really exciting to do, but my priority is a little bit higher with my family, I have to sometimes turn down things that I love because I've set my priorities that way. But then I
Absolutely.
also give myself that reflection time, that me time, where I can go and just have those thoughts to myself and think and know that those are my priorities. What are my intentions? How do I want my life to look? What do
Right.
I need to set for my kids? What does the next 18 months look like? So that as my life is happening, I can kind of direct things a little bit better because I have intent.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing with us your life, your dental practice, how you do things as a mother. I mean, you're the perfect example of how AI makes motherhood easier, right? It makes dentistry easier, it makes motherhood easier and running your practice. So thank you for sharing your information and mentoring us on AI. Everyone, go play with it, go try it, try talking to it, try entering, prompts, and that's all really we're asking you to do. That's your homework. Just try
That's right.
it.
Yes, try it and then post some case uses, those that are using it, because we have some people who are using it in really cool ways too
Yes.
in our Mommy Dental group. So post that and share and inspire us too.
Absolutely. Well, take care. And Tessa, I will see you soon. Our CEO cohort A meets in Nashville at the Hermitage, and that's going to be in May. And if you are local, but you're not coming to CEO, Tessa, as the regional leader, is going to be putting together a meetup. And look for that information in our Facebook group, and we will see you there.
See you there, guys.